Look like Caitlin Clark's civil rights has sparked a WNBA and NBA probe by the Trump administration.
The WNBA's commissioner is now under intense pressure as recent reports indicate the Caitlin Clark civil rights issue has escalated into a comprehensive government investigation. Indeed, this has reached the federal level. The wild thing, this is no longer just about the sport, it involves politics, influence, and the real power brokers behind the scenes. Is this probe truly about getting justice for Clark, or is it a political maneuver? Share your opinion below. Okay, get ready, because this situation is more complex than you can imagine. We have Caitlin Clark, the WNBA leadership, and now the Trump administration with the DOJ investigating. That's correct.
Months ago that Trump and his administration was coming. I've been preaching on it. I didn't think it was going to hit the NBA first. I thought it was coming to the W first, simply because of Caitlin Clark, her civil rights being violated, and these damn referees.
It's being reported that a civil rights inquiry was initiated due to Caitlin Clark's treatment during the season. This covers everything from referee calls and the league's handling of fan unrest to the alleged hostile atmosphere. And wouldn't you know it, the commissioner is taking the heat for it. If you're a regular viewer, you know we've been on the Caitlin Clark story since the beginning. Initially, they minimized the aggressive play. Next, they disregarded fan pleas for her safety. Then they acted as if everything was normal while videos of Clark being flagrantly fouled went viral weekly. Now months have passed, and the Department of Justice is investigating.
Now, Stephen A. Smith has been someone too that has been vocal, has been an advocate about this probe happening. Now, I am here to tell you.
Months back, the Wall Street Journal first alluded to this. They stated plainly that if the league fails to shield its stars from a hostile atmosphere, the government ought to step in. That prediction was spot on, because that is precisely what is occurring. Here is where things get crazy. Insiders claim the civil rights aspect is what drew the Trump administration's focus. They were already investigating sports betting in the NBA. Then suddenly, the Caitlin Clark issue is raised, highlighting how disparate treatment could be considered a civil rights matter.
How many times, for one incident after another, have I said, Trump is coming? He's coming. I'm gonna say it on national television again.
So let's discuss why the commissioner is facing so much criticism. It's straightforward, a failure of leadership, as Caitlin Clark was being physically battered on the court. What was the league's response? They were sharing tweets about female empowerment and acting like all was well. The fan base didn't believe it. Even impartial onlookers began to label the league as anti-Clark. She became the WNBA's greatest attraction, and paradoxically, its most targeted athlete. Referees ignored obvious fouls, other players criticized her in interviews, and the league did nothing.
I had to talk about a story that's very, very important. And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin Clark, the Department of Justice, and quite possibly the President of the United States himself. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. But the one thing I will not do is take credit for this. I am looking at the Wall Street Journal.
Let's be honest, this was not difficult to avoid. They simply needed to ensure officiating was consistent and that their players refrained from making petty remarks on social media. But they didn't. They treated Clark's fame as a menace rather than a gift. Now they have federal investigators looking into why the league disregarded complaints. That is never a positive development, so the news is public, and the WNBA commissioner is getting flack from all sides. ESPN, Fox, The Blaze, and even political podcasts are reporting on it. Some are terming it a day of reckoning. Others are simply calling it karma. In any case, it's not good. You have senators posing questions, reporters investigating old officiating records, and internet detectives compiling clips of every time Caitlin Clark was hit without a foul being called. A video compilation on X, once known as Twitter, called The Hits That Changed the League, has millions of views. And the commissioner? She's busy discussing the promotion of equality and diversity. A fine sentiment, but the timing is terrible. The public demands answers, not social media slogans. Fans are absolutely blasting her. One comment read, "How can you lead a league that permits its most valuable player to be harassed on national television?" Another stated, "If this were happening to LeBron or Curry, people would have been fired by now." It's tough to disagree with that point. Even retired players are weighing in. A few are defending the league, claiming it's just part of the competition. Others are just saying what's on everyone's mind. The officials treated her unfairly, and when a sufficient number of insiders echo the same sentiment, it becomes a genuine problem, because now both the DOJ and the Trump administration are taking an interest. And when those two are mentioned in the same breath as your league, you know the situation is grave. Here is the truth. No one wants to acknowledge this was all preventable. The WNBA could have managed this discreetly months ago. A couple of suspensions, some accountability for the referees, and a definitive statement that every player would be protected equally would have sufficed. Instead, they dismissed it as media-driven drama. Now they have lawyers labeling it a civil rights investigation, and journalists questioning if the WNBA breached its own anti-discrimination policy. You can credit arrogance for that. You see, the league assumed Caitlin Clark's fame would eventually fade, like some social media fad. They failed to grasp that she is the fad. They misjudged the public's investment in her. Worse, they saw her success as a liability instead of a benefit. So this is where we are. The commissioner's office is allegedly facing an internal review over its handling of Clark's complaints regarding biased officiating. The Wall Street Journal's article on the hostile environment is now being cited as evidence. Emails and internal memos are being subpoenaed, and an insider reports that they are in a state of panic. Even Stephen A. Smith, who has been cautioning the league for months, stated this morning that this is only the beginning. He claimed the Trump administration has been observing the WNBA ever since Caitlin Clark turned into a political issue. And yes, he's likely correct, because we can't pretend politics and sports are separate. They aren't. The moment the White House senses public fury, it intervened. Trump's team understands Clark is popular. They know she appeals to a large demographic that feels overlooked. Do you think they'll ignore that opportunity? Not a chance. Now consider the implications for the WNBA's image. The optics are terrible. A league that perpetually champions fairness, empowerment, and equality is now accused of the exact opposite of overlooking bias, allowing referees to be partial, and failing to protect the one player who increased their ratings by 400%. The commissioner's statement thus far, a brief 2-paragraph press release affirming they welcome all oversight and are committed to transparency. In other words, they are extremely nervous because this is what happens next. Subpoenas, testimonies, and referees being interrogated about their call. Coaches will be asked about directives from the league. It is going to be a complete mess. And when the details emerge, if even a small part of the rumors are confirmed, it will shatter whatever progressive image the WNBA has tried to project. And who benefits in that situation? Caitlin Clark, because after this is settled, she will emerge as a symbol of justice, the athlete who challenged bias. Every brand will be eager to sign her. Every company will feature her in their campaigns. Meanwhile, the commissioner will be fortunate to keep her job. Let's discuss the civil rights element of this. People hear that term and dismiss it as legal speak, but it's relevant here. If an athlete is treated unfairly due to bias, whether it's racial, gender-based, or because of fan pressure, it can be subject to a civil rights review. The government's function isn't to determine game outcomes, it's to ensure organizations enforce rules fairly. And when millions of viewers can plainly see Clark being fouled on plays that go uncalled, that's sufficient to raise red flags. You can't have a league that boasts about equality while turning a blind eye to evident bias. It's blatant hypocrisy. The most amusing part, the very individuals who claimed fans were overreacting months ago are now rushing to say they support the investigation. That is how quickly the narrative shifts when the federal government gets involved. And let's be honest, this is only going to get more attention. The Trump administration involving itself in a women's sports dispute. That will be front page news for weeks. Every news program, every podcast, every sports discussion will be about the WNBA and Caitlin Clark. And frankly, it might be the most significant spotlight the league has ever received, albeit for all the wrong reasons. But let's be sarcastic for a moment, because this is almost comical. The same WNBA that spent months behaving as if it didn't need Clark's celebrity is now pleading with her to remain positive, while the league is questioned by federal investigators. Oh, so now she's your superstar, now she's appreciated. Unbelievable. Where was that support when officials were ignoring their whistles every time she was fouled? Where was it when other players were making snide remarks about her media privilege instead of just competing? Now the league wants to act like her ally. It's too late. The harm has been done. And for the final touch, sponsors are paying close attention. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, all the corporations that invested millions in the WNBA brand. They don't appreciate having a civil rights investigation linked to their products. So yes, this is damaging for everyone, except for Caitlin Clark. And if Trump himself comments on it, which Stephen A suggests is quite possible, then brace yourselves. Because that would instantly transform this from a sports story into a political inferno. It will be Meanwhile, the players who ridiculed her or minimized her influence are now quiet. Suddenly, everyone is preaching unity and equitable treatment. You can sense the PR-driven panic from a mile away. And don't forget, the NBA is also watching, because if this inquiry extends to the NBA's gambling probe, you will witness a series of executive dismissals faster than you can say federal investigation. As Stephen A noted, this is not a coincidence. It's a cautionary tale. The FBI does not conduct press conferences unless the matter is serious, and they did, which implies more is on the way. So the commissioner can say whatever she likes, but the public has already reached its verdict. She failed. The fans see it, the media sees it, and now, it appears the federal government sees it too. And while this turmoil continues, what about Caitlin Clark? She is poised to become wealthier, more renowned, and more influential than ever. Because every report, every argument, every political statement is now centered on her. She is no longer just an athlete, she has become a symbol, and symbols don't lose. So yes, the WNBA commissioner is under fire. The civil rights probe is intensifying, and Caitlin Clark has just become the most powerful figure in women's sport. Whether this leads to reform or a complete collapse, one thing is certain, the truth will be revealed. Post your opinions below, click the like button, and subscribe for more direct updates right here.